Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, Carmonscloset. I'm Alicia and we're back for another Insecure review, season 4, episode 8, Lowkey Happy. So we pick up right where we left off from last week, where we weren't sure who Lawrence was calling. I was hoping it was Issa. Come to find out it was Issa, to meet up to have drinks after he left the airport. And they meet at a bar. Well, Issa walks in. At first I wasn't completely sure, but Issa walks in. And of course, just like, you know, how Issa is just so awkward and just ends up busting her ass in front of everybody at the damn restaurant. And Lawrence, he sees her and he's like, typical Issa shit. And he goes over, he's like, do you need a minute? While she's literally like sprawled out on the floor. Like, come on, Issa. And she's like, yeah, I'm gonna need a minute. So he goes back to the bar, waits for Issa to get up off the floor, like up off the floor. Think about that. And then he orders a drink for her, and well, he thought he was ordering a drink that she usually likes, but sis done stepped up in the world, okay? She does her Prosecco with vodka now. So that was cute. And like, we get into some of the niceties, you know, when you first meet up with somebody or haven't seen someone in a long time. I was just sitting there like, I was just so happy, like low-key happy. That's literally how I felt. Like, it was just so cute to see them together. Oh my God. So yeah, so he asks her about the block party. He says that he actually had to go to San Fran for some interviews and checking some things out. Looks like he wants to move on from the job that he's currently at. And he says that, you know, he wants to be able to move on from things and not being stuck there. And I do like that. I think that's a millennial thing too. We quick to move on. But yeah, he says the party was dope and congratulates her. And then she says, well, I heard about you and Condola. And he's like, yeah, don't really want to talk about that. And then he tells her that he seen Molly at the airport. And she tells him that her and Molly are not friends. They don't fuck with each other like that. So yeah, she didn't want to get into that either. But oh my God, I just want to just like take a moment and just bask in this warm fuzzy feeling I was getting while I was watching them together. But as we see as the episode goes on, that might not remain. So of course Issa wants to know, like, why did Lawrence call her for drinks? Like, he said he had something to talk to her about before, and she's like, oh, so like, what was it that you wanted to tell me? And of course they can't hear each other because the bar is super loud. And I'm like, for me, if I'm gonna go on a date and like I need to talk to somebody and like get to know them, but I mean, they know each other, but I'm like, they could have just went to the restaurant first and then went to the bar. But anyway, they get the check to go and they head to the bar to get a lift. And they get a lift, and the lift driver is all up in their business. Oh, is this the first day? And he's like, no, it's not. And yeah, then she's like, where y'all from? And Issa said Alaska. And I don't know if the lady believed it, but I just can't. And then she talks about marriage, and I think he said that he had actually bought a ring. So she just whips out this like flashlight, or was it a camera, and was like, propose now or something. Anyway, yeah, so they end up going to this Latin restaurant, and I guess it's somewhere they wanted to go before. And I'm pretty sure Issa has gone and has probably been on a date when she's have gone to this restaurant. So anyway, Lawrence was like, you've been here before? And she's like, yeah, I didn't want to like mess it up or whatever. And yeah, so they get to the restaurant. I like how Issa took charge and like ordered his food. You know, she had already been there already, so she, you know, she really impressed him on that. And it was just like nice seeing Issa just being decisive. You know what I mean? Like, that's, to me, that's like another part of just being an adult and like knowing what you want and like being confident in that. But so we get ready to have this conversation between her and Lawrence. And there's a lot of dialogue, so I did write some notes. And I think I'm just going to start by what Issa was saying in response to what Lawrence asked. But he said he was basically thinking about what happened between them and wonders what would have happened if they stayed together, and wonders if he gave up too easily on things. And she basically says she wished he didn't give up on them. And he then asks, what about Daniel? Like, why Daniel? And she said he just popped up out of nowhere basically, and gave her attention that she wasn't getting. And it felt good, and she felt wanted. And she said things were bad between them, like she used to drive around after work to avoid going home, which is bad. He said, you know, keep going, like this is not too bad. He doesn't want her to be walking on eggshells, like basically just keep it a buck. And she said she had a moment of weakness, and that she actually was really devastated about the relationship, which I do agree. I think she was. But she felt like she was scared they would like probably fall back into the same patterns, which usually does happen in many relationships. And she was just like, he didn't want to like talk, he didn't want to go out, he didn't want to have sex, and she just felt like he didn't want her anymore. And so we'll just stop there. So when it comes to Daniel, like I was like, okay, now we're getting into some things, because I'm pretty sure Daniel was like, he probably felt really slighted by her talking to Daniel again, because that was her ex. And it's basically like, I don't feel like it was just simple, like he just popped up out of nowhere and like he gave you this attention and that's all you wanted, because he was your ex. If that was the case, like why him? It could have been anybody else. If you were just looking for some attention, like if you go out and meet a random dude, like of course he's gonna give you some attention, you know what I mean? Like you can have a little fling real quick and like keep it pushing, but you chose to talk to an ex. Basically the same thing that Lawrence is trying to do, like thinking of the what ifs, like okay, like I'm pretty sure Daniel felt the same way, and I felt like that was a little bit deeper than just a fling. And I could probably understand if that bothered Lawrence. And yeah, I feel like he just didn't. I don't think it was just that simple, the way Issa was trying to make it out to seem. So then he says, it was basically like he would watch her get up and go to work, and it was a daily reminder that he had nowhere to go and nothing to do. He thought about moving back home, but that would just make him feel worse. And she just says, well, why you didn't tell me that? And he says he just couldn't. Then when everything went down with him, it was easier to just blame her. And I just feel like with that right there, it was like, okay, I think Lawrence did have some serious insecurities, especially like not having a job and not knowing where your career is going, and being a man and wanting to basically, you know, be the man of the household, you know, based on societal norms or whatnot, and just feel like if you're not providing for your woman or your family, like you're not shit. And I think he was really like stuck in that thought process, although he was like working on the app and trying to like make something out of nothing, but it really wasn't working. But in the meantime, Issa's still going to work and all this, you know what I mean? And he's just watching that. And I don't know if he was like resentful about it, but I think he definitely was insecure about everything that went down. And I think it was easier to blame Issa when she cheated. You know what I mean? Like, but Issa on the flip side, it was like, well, I got this man at home who, you know, I'm basically taking care of, and I got this shitty job, and I'm doing the best I can. And then he's at home being a dick because he's insecure about his situation. So she wants to step out and get some attention. And I just feel like I don't really feel like they fought for each other. Because let's just be honest, like when it comes to relationships, people break up and get back together multiple times. Like, as soon as you say, I'm done with this dude, like 3 weeks later, y'all back together. And then y'all break up again. Like, that's not, you know, functional, but it happened. So it was like the fact that didn't really happen. Like, it feels like it's been like 2 years or something since they were together. It feels like, I don't know what the time frame is, but it seems like it's been a minute since they've been together. So it's like, now y'all just rehashing the situation and talking about it. Like, I don't know. maybe Issa is passive. Because why is it taking this long to have this real ass conversation with him? You know what I mean? But yeah, I really do get both of their sides. I really do. So let's see. And another thing, I feel like it was a communication breakdown. Like he could have communicated to her how he was feeling. And they probably could have found some understanding surrounding that whole issue. And I feel like they just brushed it over. She cheated, then he just moved on, and they broke up, and that was it. You know what I mean? It was like, I don't know. I just feel like they could have worked a little bit harder and really had a conversation about their issues and worked on them. But I mean, once you do cheat, you know, most guys aren't willing to, you know, take the women back, and it bruises their ego. And his ego was already bruised before Issa had done what she done. But he was like, you know, he wouldn't believe if someone said a year ago that he'd be sitting here talking to Issa right now. And he was like, well, why do you feel surprised that, you know, they were looking for rings? Because Issa was like, did you really buy a ring? And it seems like he did. Issa goes to the bathroom, and now this is when everything shifts, and I'm not too happy. So Issa goes to the bathroom. Lawrence gets a text from Condola, and she says, I know that we said Wednesday, but are you free tonight? And he says, I'm out right now, but I'll hit you when I'm done. And he has this like puzzled look on his face, and then he smirks. That smirk, I was like, okay, now Lawrence, what are we doing? What the hell are we doing? Okay. So now I'm feeling like I was just so in love with the conversation and the vibe that they was happening. And then out of nowhere, I thought he wasn't even talking to Condola. I thought Condola wasn't talking to him. Apparently they are still in communication and had something set up to happen on Wednesday. So you've been knew about, you know, this meetup or you've been planning this meetup with Condola, and you also plan to meet up with Issa. So I'm like, when he gave that little smirk, I was like, okay, is he feeling himself because he got Issa here and he got Condola? Okay. So they leave, and he was like, it's nice that, you know, they talked. And then Calvin, the security dude, and some girl run up on them and asks about, oh, you went to the Latin restaurant and blah, blah, blah. And like Lawrence is looking like, wait, what? And Issa's like, so Lawrence was like, yeah, we had all this food. You know what I mean? So he was like, well, wait, how do you know Issa? And he said, yeah, we used to kick it. Wait, let me see. What did he say? No, he said they used to get it in. And I was like, who does that? Like, who does that? First of all, if I ever run into a dude I used to kick it with or whatever, and I'm on a date, like, first of all, we're not having all this conversation. We're not having it. And you're definitely not going to be able to just say, yeah, we used to get it in. Like, what? She better not ever talk to that. And her and Lawrence basically jokes about that little encounter with Calvin and whoever that girl was. And she asked him when was the last time he'd been to Art Walk. And he says, let me know how it goes. I gotta run. And he literally walks away. And I was like, oh shit, he really about to bounce and go hang out with Condola? And Issa was like looking around baffled. I was baffled. I was like, what the fuck? Because he just, you know, we know the conversation he was having with old girl. So I'm like, damn, Lawrence, really? And then he comes back and jokes around, and he was like, I'm just playing. Let's go to Art Walk. And I was like, okay. Then I just feel like this whole night was like a roller coaster. So it was like, we up, we down, we up, we down. And then it was like, okay, he's about to bounce and go with Condola. Fuck him. And then he comes back and he's like, no, I'm just playing. I'm like, yeah, he really does see it for him and Issa. And they kick it and they go on a really, really nice date. at the art walk, and they're like interpreting art that they're looking at, and it was a vibe. Like, I really like you know, how they talk to each other and how they laugh, and like Issa doesn't seem that awkward with him, you know what I mean, because he just knows her and gets her humor and gets all of that of her. And that's the thing why people end up like going back to exes, because of it just being comfortable and just familiar, which can be a bad thing or a good thing. I guess it depends on the couple. So Issa's in a really good space, and you know, she says she's just basically trying to create happiness for herself. And he's like, I really like this, like, on you. And he asks her what's next, you know, after the block party. She says she's been trying to figure out how to get paid since the block party, and said that she'll try to do like smaller events surrounded by black shit, whatever that means. When it comes to Lawrence, you know, he says he's getting there as far as, you know, happiness, and that he realized that, you know, he is happier executing someone else's vision, and he's, you know, usually used to being the leader guy or the idea guy. And he's basically finding out some things about him and which way he wants to go, you know, for his career. And then Condola calls. Now I'm getting pissed off again, because like I said, this roller coaster between them and on this date. And yeah, so Issa sees that Condola was calling Lawrence's phone. I didn't know she peeped that, but she peeped that. And she's like, do you need to answer it? And he says, nah. And Issa asks if they're still talking. And I was like, is he gonna tell the truth? And he says they've been talking, but he doesn't know if it's gonna work out, you know. Okay, well, what's gonna happen between them? And Issa says, okay. And they joke and play around a little bit, and then they find out that they live like around the corner from each other. And they're in the lift, and I thought she was getting ready to go home, but he actually asks the lift to wait a minute, and he's gonna show her that he doesn't live in a bachelor's pad and show off his apartment. So Issa's like in there, she's looking around like, damn, okay, Lawrence, he has a nice place, you know, he really put it together. It isn't really like a bachelor pad type of vibe. It's a young adult vibe, like in 30-something. It's a cute apartment. And Issa recognizes the couch, you know, and makes a comment about that. And then she goes to the bathroom. So he goes outside and calls Condola and said he's wrapping up. He says that he can still try to make it, and you know, he'll keep her posted. So, you know, he goes inside, and Issa's standing there just looking at him like, okay. And asks if they're still talking, or if he was gonna meet up with her. And he was like, well, she just wanted to talk. And said he didn't mean to call her while she was in the bathroom. Like, yeah, okay. You couldn't wait for the opportunity. And I feel like Issa knew. Issa definitely was sensing something when she seen that phone call when they were still at the art walk. So she went to the bathroom on purpose. And it's obvious what he was doing. I mean, he don't really owe her anything. He did tell her earlier that he was talking to Condola, but it was like, dude, like, you can't even wait till Issa leaves the house before you get to calling Condola. Like, that's messy as hell. Like, what is that about? Now I'm just like, the Lawrence hype, I'm not feeling him right now. So, but like I said, we on this roller coaster. Lawrence is like, it was good seeing you. And she's like, but what if I wanted to stay? And he says he don't know if they should even do that. And she says she's not ready for the night to end yet. And he says tonight made him happy. And then Issa says, you make me happy. And he says, me too. So he says stay. And, you know, they go in close for a kiss. They make love. Because the sex that she was having with the security dude, that wasn't love. That wasn't love. And I'm just wondering, like, would you guys go back to an ex? Because some people are, like, really not about that. Like, once it's done, it's done. There's no going back. However, I wish I was like that. But yeah, doesn't always happen like that. But are you willing to like see if you guys can work things out? Yeah, let me know in the comments. And they wake up the next morning, and you know, they joke about him going to San Fran and whatnot. I hope he doesn't go, but whatever. He offers to take her home, and she decides to walk. And it seems like next week, Issa's finally gonna make that phone call to Molly about getting up to talk. And I can't wait to see how that plays out. But overall, this was a really good episode. Like, I feel satisfied with being able to watch Lawrence and Issa have that conversation. I feel like that conversation was so important for them to have, and I don't really understand why they didn't have it sooner. But I think I wanted to see it for Issa and Lawrence, and I don't really see it for them. Just from his behavior during this date, of him still wanting to try to keep up contact with Condola, you know, to the point where he couldn't even wait till Issa was completely gone for the night to have this conversation with Condola. And it was just making me feel like, I don't know if I could trust him. So I wasn't really feeling that. And, you know, it seemed like Issa recognized that Condola is still in the picture and Lawrence is still interested in her. And I think that she basically wanted to fight even harder for him. And I think that's why she was like, I don't want to leave. Because I know she knew if she left, he was going to go hit up Condola and they'll be in the sheets doing their thing. And Issa will just be sitting at home like, should have tried. So she went for it. And kudos for her for going for it. I just don't feel like it's worth it. And now it's like, okay, this is complicated now, because if Condola's back around and you know that he's still talking to Condola, like, are you gonna stop talking to her now? Like, what if you see her somewhere? Like, what's that gonna look like? Or what is it gonna look like if she's with Lawrence and he's doing the same thing he did to Issa and trying to text Issa while he's with Condola, and Condola finds out? Like, that's just like a whole messy situation. And I could just see it unraveling. Hopefully it don't go that far. But thanks for sticking through and watching this review. I know I was trying to read off my notes this time. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys.